Hello, beautifuls. Welcome to Intuitive Conversations with Kristine Keeland and Renee Kane. I'm Kristine.
I'm Renee. As best friends and intuitives, we have fantastic conversations in all things spiritual. We have been inspired to share these conversations with you. Hello, Kristine. How are you today?
Hi, Renee. It's good to be back with you. I'm doing well.
Good. Yeah, it is great to get together. I love it.
Yeah, I love these conversations we have that we get to share and talk about things that we feel are important, and the feedback we get from listeners.
It's very helpful.
Very, very helpful. We appreciate all the content we get back from everybody.
We really do.
But today we're going to look at something, a little more difficult, perhaps. And even as I say that, it doesn't need to be difficult. It's just something that is present in our lives, and it's going to continue to be present. And it's going to. I'm hesitating because I don't want misunderstandings that this is something to get upset or freaked out about or like really fearful about. But we're seeing many, many more acts of disconnection.
Very many.
That are violent acts. We're seeing relationships. Everything's kind of coming to a peak right now.
I agree.
Yeah.
It seems like it doesn't matter if it's in your neighborhood or your city or a city outside of where you are. There seems to be, from my perception is anyway, that there are a lot more unconscious acts happening. People are just reacting quickly and not consciously going into their action, if that makes any sense.
I agree. I think the unconscious act comes from, and we'll state it clearly, like what started this conversation was there was just another school shooting in Tennessee. So I was looking at why do things happen, like on a soul level, on a conscious and a frequency and vibration level. Why do things happen? How do we prevent it? Like, what's our role? So it's the unconscious act, and it's not the unconscious, like it's not planned. Like because people plan things, right? Whether you're planning to leave a marriage or leave a job or have a violent experience, many times they're planned. The unconscious act is I'm not understanding my whole why, why I am me as the me that I am presence. How am I connected to others in my life? Am I disconnected from others? And when you're disconnected from others and you're not feeling loved and supported, and this is not blaming anybody, that's where the extreme reactions come from. Many.
Yes.
I'm not saying many times, at all times.
All times, yes.
At all times. And my perception too, Renee, and of course I want you to pipe in, is I think this has to do with a lot of soul history, soul's understanding of a concept, understanding of how we relate to one another, how you relate to yourself. And like we're purging all the density and all the, I kind of call it the ugly.
That's a good way to say it.
All the ugly within ourselves. And when we have a hard time doing the inner work or don't even know that that's a thing to do,
in many cases, people aren't aware.
It comes out violently.
And the violence, we're seeing more of it. It can be acted out to someone else or to many people, but it can even be acted out to oneself.
I think more often it's acted out to oneself.
I think there's more of that. Yes.
Because we do see these extreme circumstances, whether it's one violence against one person against another, or a big group. The typical way is to have that act against yourself either through your thoughts, through depression or anxiety or anger, or demeaning yourself, or
taking your own life.
Absolutely.
Or cutting oneself, or doing drugs, or there's so many ways that we
overworking.
Yes, overworking.
Yeah.
There's just so many ways.
Yeah. So we really want to talk about today is how do we stay connected to ourselves, understand how to stay connected to others. Perhaps we'll talk a little bit later about the soul's journey and why things are coming out so extremely right now. And it's going to continue for a bit.
Until we're ready to change as a society, it will be with us.
And it's each other. And we talked about it earlier that we're a planet of polarity and duality, and things have to be in balance. So, and we're way out of balance right now. Way, way out of balance.
And that is part of the understanding of the whole thing, is the polarity. Some souls do come here, in my understanding, to adopt that opposite, which would be the polar opposite of, so if there's a whole bunch of kindness happening here, well, there's going to be a whole bunch of unkindness. And
Absolutely.
some souls come in to show us the unkind piece so that we can make a choice. Oh, do I want to be unkind?
Yeah.
Or do I want to be kind?
Yeah.
What serves? What is the best for not only myself, but what is the best for all?
Absolutely.
Because we're all we are all.
We're all. And we all have, before you incarnate into a body, we have choices of what we want to experience. We have choices of how we want to, everybody on the planet right now is here to evolve humanity.
Yes.
You are born in this time, you live in this time because it's a place we want to evolve humanity into something better. And so there are many souls that take a really extreme experience. And we're looking at sociopaths and psychopaths. And they'll say, well, I'll take all the angst. They're like a magnet for all the division within oneself and division with one another, all misunderstanding, all the ugly. I don't realize that there's, if you want to use the word God, universe, I don't realize that I am this loving being here having a physical experience. They take it all within themselves, and so in one extreme way, it explodes out, but what the explosion out also releases some of the denser energy. And right now, in the process of bringing more light and love energy into our physical body, which is why we're seeing a lot of this extreme stuff.
And my thought is on that, and I'm not even going to say it's my thought, it's just coming in, that's why it appears to be more, because we are adding more light. So the extreme reactions, the extreme violence, whatever it is, it feels like it's more because we've brought more light.
Yeah.
So as each of us brings more light to the world, there's the potential for the other side to look even worse than it's ever looked.
Yeah, and it has to.
And it may not even be worse than it's ever
been. It may
been.
not be. We have more access to information now.
We do.
And as you explain that, there's more light come in. So you may not be the person that can hold the light. I'm just going to use it as an example.
Okay.
So someone who's a mass shooter, they can't hold the light for whatever reason, the soul history, physical history, connection to others, whatever their individual reason is that they need to express in that way. Around them, the vibration frequency is shifting and changing. People next to them are holding more light. The bodies next to them. And they literally can't vibrate in that. It freaks them out.
Absolutely.
And so that's a way, that actually gets rid of some of the denser energy. And these souls are leaving voluntarily because I cannot hold the light. So there may be some that does, suicide by cop, or they get in a violent altercation with their family member, or what, all these, it's hard to get it all into one. There's so much to explain here. We're really trying to, keep it short within 1 hour. But exactly, Renee, that's exactly it. There's more light coming in, their frequency vibrations changing, and the gunk has to leave.
And as you said, some will just choose to leave. There are those who will be like, aha, I see the light.
Yeah.
Or, that looks interesting. Let me check it out.
And I'm also like some of these people, part of the role is their volunteer roles. I'm going to shed some light into where we're disconnected from each other.
Yes.
So it brings up the conversation, mental health, mental illness. There's a lot. This also shows where the division is. This side's going to blame that side.
Yep.
That's not helpful. This is about people not being connected to their heart, not being connected to other people in their lives. It's not through blame. It's just how we've been kind of trained generationally to be disconnected. But now we're all saying, hey, this isn't working. We're going to shift and change this. I'm going to pay attention. I'm realizing that I don't have my resources. I don't have my needs met.
What I see, that the way I see it moving in too, is like, I need to step up on all areas, avenues, whatever you want to call it, of my existence, and be responsible for them. We haven't, or at least I haven't. Well, that's not accurate either. I was always told to be responsible, but not on so many levels as I can see now.
In a much, much different way, right?
It was like, there was, along with the responsibility I was taught as growing up, was the blame. It was someone else's fault if I didn't get this, or it was someone else's fault if I didn't get that, or do, or whatever it is. I now understand I can't blame anyone. It's me. It's my responsibility if I open my heart to someone or if I close it off. And they can be someone who's the polar opposite of me. I can still open my heart to them, or I can close it off.
Yeah. And can we're being invited and challenged, can we live amongst each other with varying belief systems, multiple belief systems? And we're in the habit right now of we need to pick and choose which one's best. Instead of just being curious, saying, well, that's interesting. That's a different way of living than the way I live. And they keep bringing me back to, I guess just keep hearing the word, it's connection. It's like we have a silver cord when we're born, and like where your belly button is, and that's your silver cord to source or to God, whatever you want to call it. And you're not disconnected from it. There's kinks in it, and there's like
sometimes even knots,
and it feels like clips so the energy doesn't flow. And so then you're like you're lost
because you aren't able to get.
It's like your life force isn't there. I mean, there's enough to keep you in the body. But your spark is kind of diminished. And so trying to find that. I think we're in maybe the last 56 years, really the last 10 years, we're really understanding ways to, I want to say, parent to one another. And I don't just mean the young people.
No.
Every age. We're learning how to embrace one another with kindness. And again, like you're saying, we have to do our own inner work.
Absolutely do our own work.
Absolutely. You have to recognize, why am I feeling this way? How to react to it.
And it's it can be a challenge sometimes when there's a difficult person that you're working with, be it at work or home or your neighborhood or wherever it might be. Yet you, me, we always have the opportunity to be the one that's kind. The other person doesn't have to receive the kindness or the love or whatever you're trying to connect with. But that doesn't mean you don't give it a shot.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that, you can not give it a shot. I'm not trying to tell you what you have to do, but owning your own responsibility is, once I've given my all in trying to be connected with someone, if they continue to refuse, I can turn and walk away. Or I can continue to work at the same level that I've been working at, or I can choose something different.
Yeah.
And I think it's the something different that we're looking at right now.
It is a something different, because you're talking about also, like, I can hear people asking, but this is like, why are we having such extreme episodes and violent episodes? Because we don't energetically relate to each other.
Correct.
We don't understand the energy fields of each other, because I can hear people saying, but this doesn't make sense to me. This just doesn't make sense to me. This is like a crazy person. This is something, these episodes, these really extreme, I'm going to use the word violent. Where does it come from, and how do we turn it around? We're learning that, and encourage our listeners too. And, Renee and I work on it every single day. Understand the energy field, the vibration frequency, the consciousness, not only of myself, but who I'm with. And it's very subtle. Energy can be very, very subtle. And like, I'm looking at families. I'm just taking a pause here because I'm looking, and when you don't, as a parent, when you don't understand your own, I kind of want to call it angst. And it does, that sounds extreme, like, because many people are not, they're able to work and they're standing upright and they can get through life. But it's the little things, like you don't quite know how to adjust yourself. And that becomes kind of a ripple effect into children. And for some souls, it's like the button gets pushed. It's the trigger. I'm not worthy. I'm not being seen. I'm not being heard. I need I have an extreme reaction. The hurt's not being seen. And it's not a blame on anybody, because you have to disassociate yourself from life sometimes.
Sure.
right? And and please, I don't want to talk at Renee, but there's like levels of it. Like level one's not so bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a little disconnected, you relate to people and parent really well.
Mm-hmm.
There's others like you're just so removed, you're not even recognizing
Right.
that somebody else could use some help. Like you were talking about the kindness.
And I think a lot of people ask, like, how could somebody do this? It's just so awful. It's, I just don't know how you get there.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm not blaming anyone in the life of anyone who's committed some violent
No, we're not blaming family members.
act. So please do not think I'm trying to blame them. What I am, the point I would like to make, or I'm being asked to make, is that had someone connected on a soul level with this person, the violent act may not have happened.
Absolutely.
Had more than one person connected with him, it would be less likely to have happened. And the more people who on a soul, even if it's not on a soul, but on a human relationship level, made a connection that said, ooh, something's off here.
Yeah.
What can we do for you? How can I help? We need to connect, and we need to not turn a blind eye when we see someone in a situation.
In turmoil.
It's like they're going to lose it. I need to help.
Yep, and it's the ages between 3 and 10 where this
Yeah.
idea kind of gets embedded, and then the
Mhm.
person can't let go of it, that I need revenge, or I need, what was the other word we were using? This is a completion. I have to get my say, or I have to complete, like I have to
finish this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it is really, but it's that devoted attention to another being, but also as you're doing it to yourself too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And just having the tools and being able to pay attention to that, because it is humanness.
And I guess that is why, even though my vision shows that we're going to have a lot of what some people would call extreme reactions or violent reactions, really upheaval of things, it's there. It's out in the field, and it can happen. We have the opportunity, as people who want to work with the light, to be more aware.
Absolutely.
To see the people that we're around, and that's who we can influence. The people we're with, the people we're around, the people we work with. We have the opportunity to step up and be the light. Whatever that is for you. Be the light might be at work, you bring cookies one day and everybody gets a cookie. And the person who had a really shitty morning is given the gift of a cookie, and that can turn them into mush. It's like, oh my gosh, somebody just gave me a cookie just because.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean we have to do these big, huge things every day. We can.
Yeah.
Maybe that's your calling. Maybe that's why you're here. But we need to be more conscious of everyone and how we relate. What's our connectedness? I mean, if we're all sitting in little cubicles at work and we, just walk by each other and we don't say, hey, how you going? How's it going? Or we're not connected at all to those people.
It's not connected, but it's artificial influence in our lives now.
If we're only connecting with someone on your cell phone via text, it's not a connectedness.
It's not human connection.
It's not human connection.
There's no warmth there. I absolutely agree with Renee. And it's not always about agreeing with each other, right?
No.
But as I say that, and we do agree many, many times, but it's about not excluding anybody. That's what's the thought I want to have.
Yes.
It's not excluding. In our thoughts, we exclude people with our thoughts.
Yeah.
Many, many times. And inclusivity is not that we all need to be the same, or I need to like you, or I need to, we need to all be in, we all need to have the same life experience. But the exclusion comes from, I am exuding less than love to you through my annoyance with you, my misunderstanding of you,
ignoring you.
I don't understand myself. I don't have love for myself. So it's like this. It's like a virus. I see it like leaving the body, like these little bubbles leaving the body. And when there's less than love, which honestly, that's kind of the flavor of the day. I mean, that's kind of where it's a vibration we exist in. And we're able to go into, and that's not saying we're not loving people. I don't mean that at all. No. I mean really pure conscious love where there's no judgment that the differences is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's no competition. There's no, it's like extreme love includes all. And
Without judgment.
Without judgment, and because we're vibrational beings, we're energetic beings, even though we're not consciously aware of it, we feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just feel it when you look at these people who become violent later in life. If you go way, way back to when they're a little kid, they just, they feel everything.
And they have no idea what to do
And
with
they don't know
it.
what to do with it, and they don't know why they're feeling less than love towards them, or just a lot of them, they're feeling less than love in their environment.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean it's the home environment. It just means the world they live in.
Exactly.
And they're like a sponge. And they can no longer hang on to this.
To all their stuff.
To all this, like, it is the, if you want to term it evil is less than love. Evil is less than love in action.
Yes.
Right? So these people are energetic sponges of, what do I do with all the unrest and all the, and like, they're like a bomb, they just explode.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be, in your household, where it's angry words, or it can be something like, what we're talking about.
And it can be just the buildup of all of it. It could be not any one action or situation that you've been involved in. It can be the buildup and how a person
It is the buildup.
holds that, she looked at me funny.
Mm-hmm.
Again today, or and if you don't ever release that, it's all there,
and it's
all of it,
and it's the not seeing it clearly for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somebody looked at you funny because at a tummy ache. Looked at funny, there's an eyelash. Maybe they're just looking at funny because that's how they look at people. I mean,
they might have been looking at the person behind you.
Yeah, you're owning it as a deficit in you.
Yep.
So it's the curiosity and taking it further, and we're just learning how to do that.
We really are.
And I think that's what we need to honor in ourselves and each other, is that we're on a gigantic learning curve. And this time frame is intentionally, we are getting rid of the ugly within ourselves. Mm-hmm. The earth plates are changing, you see that, and we're seeing, so as we see the earthquakes in the earth, we're going to see earthquakes in people. Cracking open. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be, I don't think we're at the end of it yet.
No. I don't either. And I do think, I'll go back to what you had said about it's within us. Each individual person has their own experience and what we do with it. Mm-hmm. And while we have to own our own stuff, there's an understanding that I can just shine a little light for someone.
You can have an influence, right?
Mm-hmm. Instead of they blow up at me, and I can, my gut reaction might be to blow up right away at them. But if I can really see it for what it is, then I can have a better option of how to respond to someone that blows up at me.
Absolutely.
And I think if you can respond in love, you're going to have a whole different reaction from that person. That person isn't going to be able to take that yuck with them anymore. You've helped them to get rid of a piece. Yeah. You've helped them to see it differently. And we've grown up, at least my perception of how I grew up, is it very much a right and a wrong. Mm-hmm. This is right and this is wrong. And we're moving out of that. I don't have to agree with your lifestyle choices or with your whatever you want to do. It's not up to me to agree. It's your life. You get to live your life. So instead of coming from my old pattern of, that's just wrong and this is right, it has to be this way or it's right, we're moving into allowing people to be who they are. Yeah. And it doesn't mean I have to agree with you. And that's where I think some of this the extreme reactions come from, because people still think we all have to agree on everything.
Right.
We all have to vote as one. Yeah. We all have to agree, or it isn't okay. No, it's okay to be in whichever camp you're in.
Yeah.
It's actually really kind of good to disagree about things, because it gives us the opportunity to look at something with different eyes.
And it creates growth, right?
And it creates growth. So if you're the person that's always been I'm going to just use the word judged,
Mm-hmm.
or you've always felt that you're judged, even if you're not, like you said, that can lead to an explosive moment in someone's life.
Yeah. And I think we have to get uncomfortable being around people who are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I think that it makes us leave.
Mm-hmm.
We leave physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. We leave when we're around somebody who's uncomfortable. And again, I'm looking at the children.
Mm-hmm.
Children are uncomfortable sometimes in their own skin because adults are uncomfortable. Like, there's a domino effect. And again, it's not blaming anybody.
No.
But we're getting to a consciousness point where we can say, oh, I can see there's something disturbing in you that I'm relating to. What's the disturbance in me?
Mm-hmm.
And all you can really do, we can only do ourselves, right?
Exactly.
And it feels like times it feels like, oh my gosh, one person at a time, I didn't be people, but it's quicker than that. We're working at light warp speed.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can be around someone who's uncomfortable and just offer love, whether it can be my energetic love, I'm going to go soul to soul, and I'm going to, just offer my pure conscious love, or is there something, is there physical action I can take? So walking over saying, can I help you? How can I help you? Do you need someone to sit by you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can
not,
just sit by you. I don't
Yeah.
have to say anything or
No.
do anything,
Yeah.
but if you'd like some company, I'm here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, they bringing me back to the children that are disenfranchised, that are raised by people that are disenfranchised. And that is, again, it's not blaming anybody.
Nope.
It's not a blame, because many times it's like, I don't know where this came from. This doesn't fit the family. It doesn't fit, but there's always a reason. And many times it's a completion of a soul concept. I need to understand something. I need to understand, I feel powerless. What is it to be a powerful being? Maybe I've been too powerful, so I'm on the opposite now. And
Can be.
That's the balance. What is it to be? What is it to understand my actions? I felt powerless. It can also, we were talking a little bit earlier, it's kind of a mission. I need to complete a mission. There's a lot of souls that left through previous lifetimes through violent acts themselves. So they want to understand that. I'm also seeing a lot of the,
sometimes
a lot of it's through gun violence.
And sometimes they feel like they have retribution to take care of.
Revenge.
Sometimes they have that, they're locked in that.
And even if it's a one-on-one shooting, like, and shooting's just what's on my mind today.
I was going to say,
go with that.
Like the Wild West when they're in the road.
Right.
Yeah,
like Wild West, like duels, or like you're in a war situation. If you get pulled out of the body very quickly, you still think you need to finish that act. And because this is such a significant time in the evolution of humanity, souls are coming really quickly back in the body the last 100 years, last 50, 60 years, really last 50, 60, 40 years. They're coming back in without any space to understand what they experience. And they're almost not really recognizing this is a new time frame, a new time continuum, a new space. They're in a different body. But there's this urgency in the soul, kind of, I don't want to say diminished part of the soul, but a soul that the part that doesn't have full understanding. I'm just watching a couple of people, like, I'm in the middle of shooting something. I'm in an ambush. I get pulled out of the body because I die. And now I'm in the body in 1990 or 2000, 2010. I need to finish it. And so it's this compulsion they have. That's one of the reasons. That's not all the reasons.
No, but
and we've been a very violent society through ever. Yeah. And so it's our way to work out and to kind of complete that cycle of violence. And until
you understand that's where you are.
Yeah, to have a complete understanding that it really is a violation. It's like a universal violation to have power over another being.
And you mentioned this earlier, I think. I don't know if it was when we were talking previous or if it was during the conversation here, but all souls that are here now are here for one purpose, and that is to evolve.
Absolutely.
Evolve humanity, move us to the next level. And so potentially a stronger soul may have come in really quickly, like you said, and isn't remembering. But there is this,
and they're playing a role to like enlighten others. Like we can no longer live like this. We can't put things under the rug. We can't backpack it. So many of these souls it's completion of their soul history, but it's also their volunteering to evolve humanity.
Yes.
And high five, sister, because this is a complicated subject.
It's very deep.
Very, very deep. But it's to bring, yes, it's distressing, but it's also to bring hope. Like I can guarantee you, we are not going to live like this forever.
No.
I don't have a time frame where I'm very, very, very quick, but it is doing the individual work. Understand yourself.
One thing I would, and if this won't apply to all listeners, but to some of you, it was just the phrase that I've heard over and over again is, what's wrong with them?
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with them? Take that out of your vocabulary.
Please.
It's not for us to ask what's wrong with somebody.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
It's that we've talked about words before,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't want to project onto someone that there's something wrong with them. That doesn't add to how they're feeling.
It's not helpful.
No, it's not helpful in any way. What is much better is, how can I help this one person?
Yes.
How can I help them?
What do I need to understand? If you're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old and you keep hearing what's wrong with you, why do you behave like that?
Yep.
Why do you keep questioning things? Why do you push the buttons? Why can't you just be?
Why'd you take that apart again?
Yeah.
You know?
Or instead of saying what's wrong with you, saying, well, why is this person feeling in a way they're acting out? To me, it feels wrong. Well, like, what's the terrain around them? What are they receiving from others?
Yep.
And again, it always goes back to children, because we all start as children.
Mm-hmm.
And if people are uncomfortable in the energy you're carrying, they make you the scapegoat.
And often go ahead.
And I'm just saying, and that's, as I say, they make it a scapegoat. It's because we are people, right? We're people. You don't understand why you're being attacked all the time, whether it's verbally or energetically. So these little kids are holding on to all this. And you keep hearing, well, why can't you just be like your sister?
Yep.
And we're making general assumptions. So we're not looking at each individual things. But the concept holds weight. The concept's very accurate.
And all parents don't say those things to their children at all.
But you may think it.
You may think it, and that still puts it out there, just so you know.
And also, parents think, what's wrong with me?
It goes both ways.
So that's in the energetic field. What's wrong with me? What do I understand? Why am I so angry? Why am I backpacking things? Like, these are all connected. Mm-hmm. It's all connected. So we have to be so aware of our thoughts and our actions and our.
And I just think it's always good to reach out to somebody.
Yes.
And just own your stuff. How many times have I called you and said, "Oh my, this is what I just did," and you listen and you have some good feedback. And then it's like, okay, I can see this now. I can move forward. While it's ours and it's ours to do, we don't have to do it alone.
Please don't do it alone.
That's the piece.
Yeah.
You don't have to sit in your own little room and go, I have to figure this out. I have to be responsible. Well, maybe being responsible is, maybe I should call my best friend and just let her know how I'm feeling, and maybe, or him, and we can talk about it. Or maybe I need to reach out to someone else.
Yeah.
Someone who knows nothing about my life, and I need to reach out to them. Yeah. By saying you have to be responsible doesn't mean you have to do it alone. Does not mean
doing it alone. Absolutely does not mean doing it alone.
And I would encourage you to reach out to someone.
And saying I need help doesn't make you a victim.
No.
It doesn't make you less than. It doesn't make it, just like, it's actually a wise thing to know when to ask for help.
It's actually very empowering.
Very, very wise and very empowering. And what we're doing is we're attempting, and we're doing, I think, some days we do really good collectively as a whole. Some days we're still learning. Renee, I want you to talk about what you talked about earlier. You were saying somebody you knew was really upset about one of the school shootings, or not a school shooting, but a shooting in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and you're like, how do they respond to it? So talk to a little bit about it, because that's the empowering part, and to really recognize, how am I participating in this? Am I participating through my fantasy? Which, not saying it's not easy to do that, because we get caught up in
that's human.
This could be me, right? Mm-hmm. But what are you actually experiencing? So explain that a little bit. I thought that was a wonderful dialogue.
Well, it's the whole idea of how, when you hear a news report or you see something where, we'll just use this one as an example, where there's been a shooting and the person's contained within the house and the police are there, whatever, and you bring anger to yourself or frustration to yourself. And this person was having a really hard time with what had happened. Not so much because of that individual situation, but because of how it could have affected people she loved.
Yeah.
In the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
very understandable.
Yes. So you get it. But by getting agitated and getting fearful and getting upset, you're not adding to the light of the situation. You're adding to the heartbreak of the situation.
Yeah.
You're adding to the person, the anger. You're adding to that field that
You're creating a bigger field.
less than beneficial, where you can choose to send your light to the officers involved.
Yes.
You can send your light to that person involved. You can send love and not unconscious. I'm losing the word.
Conscious love, but
Conscious love, but
invisibly, right?
invisibly, yes. It's like you can
Telepathically.
instead of going I'm human. I would probably do the same thing had it been me. But it's recognizing how often we add to the fuel. We add to the fuel of the flame rather than add to the water that's going to put it out.
Absolutely, because it's a magnetic field. But when you add the fear, which again, it's our normal way of being. Our natural being is not to add to the density. Our natural way of being is to enlighten the density and kind of break up that field. But we've just, for whatever, so many reasons,
we've shifted around.
That's our shifting. So it is a conscious awareness. And maybe you start there like, oh my gosh, I'm like terrified. Like, okay, am I participating here? Not really. It's just something I'm witnessing. I've heard about. But I'm just repeating what Renee said. I'm going to inject my wisdom, my pure conscious love, not into the people that are actually physically in experience now, but whatever in their lineage needs it forward and backward may need that same enlightenment. So we're not powerless beings at all. We're not powerless people. We're, oh my gosh, when you look at the influence we have and the effect we have, like, that's why we're here. That's why this whole, like, you can't see my body, but it's like, it's just like, I want to jump into the ocean. I want to jump into the ocean as possibility, because I know we're changing. We're literally changing human history. It feels really slow and terrifying at times, but it's like, no, you are the light. You are the reason for the change. Yes, exactly, Kristine. Perfect way to state it. Then the other piece that we were talking about too, that, I'm not saying you might not have an emotional reaction to something horrible that happens. I mean, you can certainly have tears running down your face and still send conscious love to someone. And you still may want to run home and grab your person. And you can still, your heart will ache for whatever may have happened, but you don't have to go into the fear of it. You don't have to add to the frustration and the denseness of all that. You can put your hand on your heart and go to the love of it. It doesn't mean you're not going to shed a tear. You're going to be your human self, right? Yeah, you'll still have emotions. I don't want you to think that there aren't emotions attached, because that we are human. Yeah. But you can always go to that place within you. For me, it's my heart. Some people, it might be your head or your third eye or your stomach or whatever speaks to you, from which you think you can exude as much unconditional love as you can. Absolutely. And we're getting there. The more we can move into that, no matter what the situation. And I'm so glad you're talking about that and sharing that with me, because as you're talking, I'm seeing right now, like our fierceness comes out, our tiger. We get so angry and so mad, reasonably so, right? Because these are horrific things are happening. Yes. And we feel like nobody's paying attention. And I'm looking at the United States, and like we're asking for Congress to help, and just, it's like this never-ending cesspool and whirlpool of like divisive thoughts, and it's this group against that group, and nothing changes, right? But the hope, not even the hope, the information we want to share with you guys is next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, there is a consciousness shift in the way we're going to impart policy, or the way we're going to, like, our advocacies and I can think of the word as policymakers, but the way we're going to create change. It's not going to be screaming at Congress to please change us. There's going to be actually light workers, higher vibrational beings, physical form, us, right? We're already in these institutions. We're going to create the change that actually the word I'm looking for is activism. So the way we become our activism, it's not riots or holding signs up in the street. It's spiritual activism. And yes, and it's not going to fight. We're not going to fight things anymore. We're going to have a different solution. in the process right now, people are getting downloads from spirit and from their higher selves and the oversoul of how to create really significant change, not through the old ways, old patterns of fighting a system, but really changing a system, changing it from the inside. And that's where all the light workers are and things. And so,
and it is a new concept.
It is.
It's a new concept.
You don't fire a shot over the bow and expect change. You don't fight fire with fire. That's the change that's coming. I think we're just starting to tip our toes into that. And
yes,
I feel like once that's kind of, I just get download, or once that's actually in where these certain people are in their consciousness and they get to start working on it, it's a pretty quick change. It's not centuries. It's not even 50 years. It's very quick change. And
I'd say within 5 years.
It'll be kind of like, oh, what are we doing? Like this is just, we're trying to change some of the same old way of doing things.
I agree.
And so this spiritual activism is coming in really, I say we're using the word extreme, but with great love.
I want to bring to mind an example of when we talk about this spiritual activism. I'm just recognizing in my past, I did have a moment of that. I went to the Capitol, and I can't even tell you what it was about, but I was going to a rally, and I was meeting a friend and her family there. So I got there, and there were 2 rallies going on, which I was unaware of, and they happened to be 2 opposing rallies. So to get to the rally I was going to, I had to walk through the other group. And I could feel the daggers. And they didn't know if I was there with them or what, but it was just this hate.
It feels awful.
It was horrible. I have never felt, and I can honestly say, never felt so like, oh my gosh, if you guys could kill me with your stares and your daggers, I would be gone.
Yeah.
It was just a crazy energy, which I had never experienced. So I get to the rally I'm going to, and I'm talking to one of the leaders of the rally, and she's saying this, that, or the other thing. And I'm just like, oh, well, what about this thought? What would you ever think about? Oh, no. So each rally was working out of hate.
Yeah. Opposing views, right?
Opposing views, but it was hateful.
And saying they wanted something different,
and they all wanted to change. Both groups were about change. But the energy in both groups, not all the people in each group were that way, but the overpowering energy. And
the collective energy, right?
Yeah, the collective energy. I'm very in tune with energy. So I pick it up very easily. And it was just like, oh, well, this is not helpful for anyone.
No.
It's not okay. And it is not helpful.
It's destructive, actually.
It was actually destructive. So when I went home, I learned that it is not my place to be in that kind of a situation. I can be a warrior, but not like that. I'm a love warrior, not a hate warrior.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
And we live in a society with, it's like, oh, I hate that dress, or oh, I hate this, or oh, I hate that. That word flies out of our mouth
so quickly, right? The same with love. And does it really mean that? I
right,
love pizza.
Yes,
right?
Same. You're right. Both words. So what do those mean for each of us? Now I look at that and I'm like, okay, so now I learned, a few years ago about spiritual activism.
I love that. We were talking about spiritual activism. Maybe it's coming in the forefront the next couple of years. And as we were talking about, it reminded me, we've been doing the spiritual activism.
We have been.
You and I and others have been doing the spiritual activism without that, terminology around it.
Yep.
But I remember a few years ago, and I remember it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And I think it was around the Me Too movement. I'm not sure, but it was women and men were going to go to each individual state capital, and I think they called it a pussy rally. But they all had pink hats on and everything, and it was about women being oppressed, or I don't remember exactly what it was, who was in the office right now. But it sounded like, well, yeah, that'd be something I would absolutely support. And a lot of friends were going, and I kept getting hit that that's not yours to do. And it didn't really make sense to me because I like to create change and like to be part of a group. But I just kept getting, no, you're just supposed to go downtown St. Paul and have a sandwich with your husband. So I went downtown, and we had like 2 sandwiches that day because it was an all-day experience to watch. And I just sat in our booth, and I was watching the energy at St. Paul Capitol. And I could physically see all the people marching. You could feel the energy, and it was like this fierce, fierce energy and forceful and kind of hateful, and we're just gonna show you, it's like that kind of energy.
Mhm.
And then I pulled my frame of reference back and I saw all the capitals, because I think every state was doing it, and then there's this big march on Washington D.C. And hopefully some of the listeners know what I'm talking about. And that same area, you could like feel the pounding. It's like the judge was pounding, and the energy, or the sound of that experience was really like it even tastes like bitter mouth now when I look at it. And the sound was like it hurt your ears to hear it. And then all of a sudden, I'm watching about maybe 45 minutes into the rally, the music started changing. It got very lyrical, almost like a lullaby, very, very soft. And you could see like the density leave the crowd. This beautiful pink energy with some platinum and a little gold, and it came over the whole crowd, almost like a smoke screen over everybody. It changed that whole energy. And it was like, you don't fight the wrong, in quotation marks, with hatred and fierceness. You change it with love. And that was like it was such a significant experience. And so we've been doing that. We've been doing it. So that whole energy change. And okay, that's what I got from it. So those would have been riots. Those would have been horrible, horrible riots. There would have been loss of life. There would have damaged property, damaged people. It would have created more. Yep. And as this energy came in, because there's spiritual activism on the planet, there's people, beings out of body helping us, that it changed the course of that, and actually started to change the course of our human history, because we're no longer going to do that. There are pockets of it we're still doing it because it's being purged out. But thank you for that example, because it kind of
That's beautiful.
Enlightened my memory that we have been doing this activism. We're going to do it differently. Hatred just creates more hate.
It does.
If I hate you for doing something different, and that's kind of where you talk about forgiveness, right? And that's a hard thing. It can be difficult to forgive an action or an experience.
Yeah. And again, going into the meaning behind words, like we talked about, I hate this, I hate that, I hate this, I hate that. Well, I hate pizza. I love pizza. Hate, love. What the words,
that's the unconscious thought,
that's the
right?
unconscious piece. Yes. It's like, what's coming out of your mouth?
If you say like one of my favorite foods is pizza, I like to have it 5 times a week, or I really dislike it.
I could care if I ever have it. Yeah.
But everything has a vibrational match, right?
Yes.
And even just saying I hate, well, then it's like it's a magnetic, like these little BBs, right?
Yeah.
They kind of just get together, like your person that was, really upset about the
shooting.
The shooting, like yes.
And it is. It's like it's how do we express ourselves? Yes. And it's like, yes, I really like that food. I can eat it every day. Or not, rather than I hate or I love.
Yeah. And so why do bad things happen? It's because we're consciously unaware of, one of the reasons, because there's never just one reason. One of the reasons bad things happen is because we're consciously unaware. We're disconnected from self. We don't understand what we're creating, because we are creative beings always in every moment. And then there's just a lot of soul history being cleared up and purged, so that the love and the light can be in not only our physical body, but can be on the planet.
And unknowingly, even unwittingly, we may be adding to the problem rather than the solution.
Yeah.
And that's a piece for us to really be conscious of.
I think that's the biggest learning curve we're going to go through right now. It's like my essence. What is my thoughts, my energy, my action?
What am I adding to?
My frustration, what am I adding to? Think of it, because it really is, it's like pouring paint. It spreads. And so you get to decide, what am I spreading? And all of us have stuff in our daily life. It's not these big extreme things.
No. But some days they might feel that way.
Yep. And there are people, as Renee said earlier, that's the role they're taking. I'm going to take all this extreme energy and I'm going to be like the cannonball. And I'm going to blow it up, and it comes out in a very horrific way, right?
It can, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say it can. It does.
It does. And it also, and again, it's not to like discount or dismiss what everybody's experiencing, but it does create change, and it does evolve the souls involved in some way. they all have a role.
And I guess I'd like to add that
which is hard to say when it's your person.
Just because we've both kind of said, we think this can get worse. I don't know if worse is the word, but we think we'll see more of this and it will continue. Doesn't mean it will. It doesn't mean that you should live in any kind of fear or worry over it. What we see is what's in the energy field right now today. So the more light and love that's put into the energy field, the more we look at our own selves, clearing up our own stuff and our own relationships, the less we're likely to see all of that.
Yeah, it's just the potential right now. It doesn't have to become a reality.
So there's no fear here. It's like, don't live in fear of what is it a possible potential.
Yeah. We're always just trying to offer information, and you take it into what resonates with you, what makes sense to you. What is this something I choose to do? Is this something I want to incorporate in my life? Or
just understand that you can look at what your role is moving forward.
Yeah. And as Renee said, inject love into everything. That's the quickest way to change a situation. It changes instantaneously. If you can look at somebody who's, again, it's going back to the children.
Yeah.
What do we need? We need love and connection. And when you're interacting with somebody and there's a trigger there, or you're not understanding them, just ask, how can I enlighten this situation in my understanding with love, with pure conscious love? And please guide me, my higher self, please guide me to where I can have an impact on somebody maybe when they need that infusion of love. And then pay attention to it.
And what just popped in now was even the most crotchetiest person that you know loves when a child crawls up on their lap and snuggles in with them, and they can be really agitated, but there's something about that heart connection that the child brings that most often will soften that curmudgeon or whatever it is. It doesn't need to be a child.
No, it does not.
It doesn't need to be a child that offers someone their love.
Yeah.
It can be you.
We're all capable of that.
Both of us. It can be everyone.
Yeah.
So that's a piece I want you to look at. It doesn't have to be the child.
And don't wait for someone else to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. See what you can bring to a situation in love.
And start with paying attention, where am I not loving myself? Because that's gigantic. It's
huge.
Really, that's the distraction piece.
Yeah.
I can put it out there for others, or I can say that, but really, and you'll know because the way you feel, your thoughts, do you feel like when you look at yourself, do you smile? Does it feel good? What are your thoughts during the day? This is the empowered person.
Yeah.
Empowered is even, I really want to change it to enlightened.
There you go.
The enlightened person understands that. Love changes all.
Perfect way to conclude our discussion today.
Yeah.
Love changes all.
Yeah. And I'm sure this conversation will continue.
Oh, yeah.
In different ways and different, but today we just wanted to touch base on this because it's kind of, pretty present right now.
Yeah. I think there'll be more.
Yeah. Thanks, Renee. As always, a great conversation.
Thank you for all the wisdom you share.
So your wisdom and insight, always appreciate it.
Yeah.
Mutual admiration club over here.
Yeah.
And again, we love all of you. We appreciate you being with us. If there's any way you can help, if you want to send in questions to us, or if there's any way we can help you, look at both of our websites. And if you like the podcast, please share it.
Please do.
That helps us and helps, hopefully it helps other people. And we love you. And
we
not just love, we love pizza. We love you.
We really love you.
We do. Love you too, Renee. Bye-bye.
We are forever grateful to you, our listener. You inspire us to continue listening with our hearts,
to share what we know, and to expand love, peace, and joy within ourselves and others. Until next time, this is Kristine Keeland
and Renee Keene. Be love, give love, and receive love.